Now we're going to step over here and talk to our good friend Rick Meinig, who is known to just about everybody. Rick, a reminder here, keep it very close to your mask or we won't get your words. And we're standing in front of your 1940 327/28 Cabriolet. Gorgeous car. This was the one, if I remember correctly, that BMW built to reward the great driver George Meyer, right?
Yeah, that's correct. In 1939, Schwarzmeyer won the Isle of Man time trial, first non-Brit to do that, and it was a major victory for the German BMW factory works for the motorcycles, and obviously probably in that era had some propaganda value. But it appears from company records that the car was given to him in 1940. It actually has serial number 7 in terms of the body number, so the car had probably been in the factory for a while. And as Don noted, prior to the war, there really were no official civilian sales, so these cars were delivered unofficially outside of commercial channels.
Wow, wow. I mean, you can't think of a better reward, especially from the perspective of history as you look back on this. Now, in talking with Don, of course, restoration of BMWs has been not just his passion, but also his business for all these years. This restoration, am I correct in saying it's entirely yours, Rick?
That's correct. I think as Don alluded to, 25 years ago, BMWs, unlike Mercedes and Porsches, were kind of the orphans in the collector's world. So when you found a car like this, more often than not, it was neglected. And sadly, there wasn't a lot of factory support or even knowledge about these cars. So, you know, as Don alluded to, guys like Tom Graham and others kind of carried the banner. And when I came along, had it not been for guys like Jim Smith, restoration of a car was virtually impossible. Don's shop wasn't existing, and it was all by word of mouth. And back in early 2000, late 1990s, you were making phone calls. Fax was the high technology of the day for trying to track down parts and letter writing. And so even to get a photo of what the car is supposed to look like, meant looking through some books, which is pretty limiting, and then finding owners through the grapevine who would send you some photos of what the car looks like or should look like. So,
wow. So it was really a cooperative effort. I mean, you had, fortunately, some great friends who are legendary BMW owners and who have cared for these great classic cars, who helped you along the way to get all of this done.
Absolutely, and I had started vintage racing BMW, so I got to know a fellow racer who had a body shop. So it was through him that I was able to learn how to do some body work, and I think more importantly from his perspective is do the tiresome prep work.
Mm. And you've owned this car now, it was 2001, right?
That's correct.
If our placard is correct. So almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And what all, if you could just quickly take us through, give us a quick idea of what it was like when you got it. And I think if I remember correct, you're still sort of on an ongoing restoration of this car,
It's
right?
definitely ongoing. So, I mean, every car collector has a story. So I bought a 321 sight unseen from a handball coach from the Republic of Georgia who was visiting the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. And I picked him up in a 2000 CS. He said, "Oh, you like old BMWs?" And I said, "I do." Because we had many old BMWs in Georgia. So, he promised me this 321 with the original motor and all that. And after months of wrangling with the State Department and the Georgian officials, the car arrived in Houston, and it was a complete basket case. It had a Volga motor.
A Volga?
A Volga
Oh my
motor.
God, a communist motor.
Yeah, the original BMW motor had disappeared, and I was pretty crestfallen. So I didn't know what to do. So this was like the first week that Hemmings had an online presence, and I saw this car listed as part of an estate sale. So I called the guy, and he said, "You're the first one to call. If you want to come in and buy the car, it's yours, but I'm not going to ship or sell sight unseen." So I gathered my father-in-law and my race car trailer and off and went to Indiana.
And now it's history, huh?
It's history. And, you know, the car, I mean, fortunately, it was one of those things where the previous owner was pretty fanatical about the car, and he had also tried to restore it himself, but it was like a Krylon red paint job.
Whoa. You need to spray. You can't
Yeah,
spray.
it was very crude, but it ran, and he had actually gone to Germany and talked to Schwarzmeyer, had some factory documentation that it had been Schwarzmeyer's car. So I realized, well, this is definitely a diamond in the rough. At that point, I didn't really know what a restoration meant. So the car was, again, Krylon red. I found out from the factory records that it was gray, but I didn't really know in 2000 what gray meant. And an English guy sent me some samples of Volkswagen grays from that time period. And I just wasn't really up for frame off to, you know, totally gray car. So I said, well, it was gray when Schwarzmeyer had it, it was red when this other fellow had it. I'll honor both owners, and I'll do a two-tone, red and gray. That saved me from having to redo the engine and some other things. And then with, you know, my friend the body man, we launched into the, you know, the body work, which was fortunately fairly minimal in terms of rust, and it was a complete car.
You know, in the in Jackie's book, he described this, and it is a wonderful picture. And it's actually, oh, I'm not sure it's the one on the plaque. There it is, with you, with the family. I mean, and this is, you kind of regard this as a family car, huh?
Well, the kids call it bucket of bolts.
Bucket of bolts.
So, and there are bolts unaccounted for, I'm sure. And that's the beauty of a do-it-yourself project. I mean, you take it at your own pace, you learn. And fortunately, the BMW community has always been supportive of efforts like this, and certainly with Facebook and the internet.
Yeah.
This is probably now is the golden era to restore cars of any era.
Well, it's inspiring to hear you say that, because those of us who own, well, mine's not quite a classic yet, but it will be in due time, and I intend to keep him for the rest of my life. So knowing that somebody, a gentleman restorer, let's put it like that, an enthusiast on his own, was able to take something like this, a true classic, an ancient classic in that sense, and turn it into this. I know I've heard you say that it's not exactly in concours condition. You are working along the way. What's the next part that you want to work on with this car?
That's a good question. I mean, there's some definitely, like the gauges and stuff can be redone. But you know, I'm happy with it. It's a car I can throw my kids, even my dog in, and drive in, and not feel totally paranoid. I'm happy to have kids and people touch it, sit in it, and enjoy it. I mean, for me, it's a car. And I think the beauty of doing your own restoration is you can determine, you know, the degree of originality. And so, yeah, so like the handles you'll see are yellowed from time. But, you know, I can honestly say that door handle was touched by Schwarzmeyer in 1939, and it's not a modern reproduction.
Wow, fantastic. Well, Rick, it's a beautiful car. Thanks so much for letting us have it for Genesis. And I mean, you look at all of these models, and all very lovingly owned in various stages of restoration or care or originality, and pretty fantastic. So yeah, I hope we'll continue to see this car in the years to come.
For sure. I mean, I have to say, I'm surprised when I see my car that it turned out to this level of perfection. I mean, not perfection, but I mean, it's a very presentable car, and I mean, I can honestly say I know everything about this car. It wasn't that I just wrote a check and got a perfect car back. I know how it works and doesn't work.
There's a real satisfaction in doing it yourself, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for talking with us. Thanks again for the car. Rick Meinig, the owner of this gorgeous 1940 327 Cabriolet. And now when you see it, you can appreciate it even more. Thanks again for taking your time. I'll take the microphone for you. And I think that's it for us. So I turn this back over.